Hello, everyone. It's Cornisha Syrup, the black transgender, gay, Jewish woman, Muslim. Um, this is really important. I need to make this video. It's extremely important. Apparently, there's a lot of misinformation, more than I could even have imagined. It really is hard for me to understand this, but apparently people who I'm in contact with who are extremely wealthy, important, and uh, intelligent individuals in financial world and in several other aspects of society that are very, very high up, who are even world influencers. They tell me, Cornisha Syrup, you have to make this video. You have to make this video about the fact that people don't know, and more and more people think that if you have wings, that means you can fly. Now, at first I thought this was a joke because it was around April Fools, and I was like, "Oh, that's not happening. That's ridiculous. How can people think that birds or any animal that has wings can fly, right? Or like squirrels or whatever, the ones that have wings, right? Or the bodysuits, or bats or anything like that." And they said, no, no, it's really bad. It's so bad that they look at an animal flying in front of them, like, say, a giraffe, right? Giraffes have always been flying around. And they say, that's not happening. It didn't happen. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And then I started talking to normal people, which I never do because, I spent all my time away from normal people because, well, for this very reason, normal people think that some. I don't know how they do this. They think that an animal, right, that's right in front of them isn't flying, even though it's flying, like an elephant. Everyone knows elephants fly. They even had a movie called Dumbo, where the whole time it was a elephant flying around. It's ridiculous. And they had, I mean, we've all seen Santa Claus with the reindeers, and they're always flying. It's absurd. How can you think this is insane? And it's just, there's so many cases where, animals are flying all the time. I mean, for example, if you have a cat or a dog, which a lot of people do, right? Because they're, according to the normal people, they think that cats and dogs are somehow pet animals. So you have to have them as pets, and you can't eat them, right? You can't have them, at least in certain countries in the Western world. You can't have them for, you can't develop them for meat, right? But so you have to have to have these certain kinds of things are designated as pets, and other things aren't, right? But remember that, for example, I mean, yeah, like I said, if you have dogs and cats, you see them as soon as you go to the wherever you get them, right? It could be a humane society, for example. They have the cats and dogs on full display, right? And the rabbits and, the gerbils and the mice and all that. And you can see them right in front of you. They're right in front of you, and all they're ever doing is levitating or flying around, right? Because, they have legs, they're, bipedal, and that means they fly, right? If you're a bipedal animal, by default, you fly around. That's just what you do. And you can fly literally into space, and also you can go to, you could just keep flying because, animals can breathe in space, at least if they don't have wings. And a lot of people. I remember specifically the neighbors toward in Corn World. Some of my neighbors, they had cats and dogs as well, and they would take them out to the yard, and as soon as they took them out, they flew into space. They just went, boom. And it's like, duh, that's going to happen. You have to keep them inside, or else they'll fly into space. You can't bring a bipedal animal outside without expecting it to want to fly away, because that's just what they do. That's how they evolved. That's why they evolved. But the reason why birds don't fly, which is it's insane to me, but look, the reason why birds don't fly, and everyone knows this, is because they have wings. Wings are made so that you look cute, right? Because you're flapping them. You just flap them, right? And you go up and down like that. But I guess, okay, if I'm thinking like a normal person, right? A normal person thinks like, oh, it has wings and it's trying to flap around so it can hop around. Of course, it means it's going to be able to flap away. Like, oh my God, no, 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 no. That's not how it works. It's ridiculous. You're acting like some kind of magical force that would flap and makes things go up. But that's not true. The only thing flapping is good for is for showing people how cute you are. The more you flap, the better you're cuter. The cuter you are, and the longer you live. I mean, that's why. I mean, look at parrots, for example. Sometimes they live for 100 years because they're always flapping. They're so cute. They're so cute. So parrots, they stay inside, and everyone's like, oh, look, it's the flapper. It's the flapper. It's so cute. We gotta keep them alive for 100 years. Yeah. And so they're, treated well and all that. But we have to remember that birds are the smartest, most sophisticated animal on Earth, even more than humans. The only difference, and the only really downside that they had, that was given to them, is that they were made without the ability to communicate like we do, and also they were given wings. And the bird forefathers knew that because of their very high sophisticated brain sensors and their telepathy, and that they can look, millions of years into the future, they knew that after, their ancestors, the dinosaurs or whoever it was, I mean, now, obviously dinosaurs weren't real, but so, I mean, I don't know how people get that idea. Birds were just more fluffy in the past, right? They were just fluffier. So back then, which a lot of, again, the normal people call them dinosaurs, but obviously they were just big balls of fluff. That's what birds used to be. They used to be just these balls of fluff that rolled around. And they said they saw all the other animals, including the ocean animals like fish, flying around, and they were like, I think we're going to develop an evolutionary strategy to not fly, just to be different, right? Just so humans don't, when the humans finally evolve and take over the world and make it, way better, and also make the air clean, and all the people are really good at not littering, and also when the humans put us into, prisons, right? Because that's what humans love, to put animals in prison, because it's funny to watch them struggle around in a little confined area. I think everyone knows that. It's really makes you laugh, and it makes you say, hey, it's so funny. This animal is stuck in a confined area, and I could just point at them and stare at them, and they can't do anything about it. It's pretty funny. So they knew that was going to happen, and then they knew the best technique for their continued survival was simply to have these useless wings that flap around, right? Because that's the way to get humans to empathize with you. The more you, and you've noticed this also with other animals, right? Including other humans, when they flap their hands and they flap their whatever, they flap around, right? You feel more sympathy for them, right? Now, I've done this my whole life. I'm flapping around all day, and people think that there's something wrong with me, right? And so they develop sympathy for me. But like, it's just a way to maintain a kind of peace between humans, because most humans they just don't want me to be alive, right? So they just want me to stop doing everything. So in order to calm the minds of the humans, I do this and make chirping noises. And then they're like, oh, it's a bird. It's a bird person. Oh, he's so cute. She is so cute. She must be transgender, right? There must be something silly about this human, right? So, and they must be gay, right? Or a Muslim or a Jewish person, right? Because everyone knows that these people are silly. So it's important to realize that a lot of the time, the birds just know that humans are trying to control everything. And they're trying to destroy everything too, so that they can be the last animals left on Earth. But, so, that's why we still have a lot of birds around, is because they use this technique of flapping their wings, or whatever, to keep their species going. Now, the birds, some of them you might see are flying around. Because a lot of people say, oh, but what about the birds that fly, right? The birds, there are certain ones, I've seen them with my own eyes, and there's plenty of videos of birds flying. Yes, of course. Of course. But that's because they put the certain very high business officials, they put microchips in these birds so that they electronically fly around. So they're basically drones, right? The birds are drones that monitor certain areas. So if you see a bird flying around, which is it's rare, but not as rare as it used to be, because they've gotten good with this technology. They're just monitoring an area, right? But it's not that often, You still have mostly just, all the rest of them. The elephants and the pigs. Pigs can fly, remember that? And they can. Pigs can fly. So it's important to realize, please understand, that just because you see a few birds fly doesn't mean they do it naturally. They do it because, certain, we need to monitor certain areas on planet Earth. And the only way to do that is to put microchips in birds so that they can electronically fly around and monitor an area. And the reason why we use birds, which are basically the only animal that can't fly, instead of all the other animals that fly, is because, well, humans feel sorry for birds, because birds never get to fly, and they get to see all the other animals flying around and going into space. And the birds are like, can I get a job flying for once? And then the government or the certain powerful industries say, okay, all right, we'll give you a chance to fly, right? And so that's why, okay? So the only reason you see a bird fly is because they've been implanted with electronic chips that are very powerful and that help them fly around. But it's not because they flap their wings. It's just that they're happy. They're happy and they're grateful to humans, so they flap around and they make cute flying noises because it makes the humans say, "Ah, oh, haha, it's cute," and it makes them less likely to shoot them out of the air, right? Because you don't want that to happen. So please be careful when you make you know baseless accusations towards birds, because we and just I know a lot of people spent a lot of time inside during COVID, and they thought they had a lot of time thinking, what if birds really can fly naturally, and then we had the all the AI videos now of birds flying, which is so ridiculous. Anyway, birds cannot fly naturally. That's what I want to get to. Please stop thinking that they can. It's not true. It's just bullshit. It's complete nonsense. So hopefully, hopefully this helps, and hopefully you'll use your brain for once and realize, no, birds are the only animals that can't fly. They're only getting a job from certain government agencies, and like I won't name them, but it's very important for them to get a good job, and they can put food on the table for their family from the humans, right? It's a good relationship between humans and industry. So that's all. And just remember that all the rest of the animals are the ones that fly around, okay? Just including us. So thanks. I hope you stop believing nonsense on the internet. And for example, just watch my videos. My videos actually tell the truth, and they're just that's it. That's if you need the truth, I have the truth on my channel. Just watch my videos. All my videos are true. None of them are bullshit. Basically at all, because I've never lied in my life, and I never would. Why would I do that? I'm a Jewish Muslim atheist. How could I possibly lie? And I'm a transgender gay, right? And I'm black and whatever else I am. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope you stop getting misinformation. And if you need real truth, I have just watch my channel. That's why I have 67 trillion quadrillion subscribers, more than any person or any entity who has ever existed. So there.